such kind of soil means such kind of piles, during the installation of such pile, the ground get disturbed due to the vibrations of vibration from the pile, vibration from the pile while installation. So the soil will be displaced from its original position. It is not like that the soil will displace to an infinite extent, but due to the vibration setup, due to the pressure, due to the hammer, the falling action of hammer onto the pile, by which there is a vibration setup in the pile, and these vibration basically transfer to the soil. Thereby, there is a displacement in the soil. So, such kind of situation where the pile is displacing the soil, such piles are known as displacement piles, right? So that day also I was telling you about where we'll be installing such kind of pile, where there is no, there is no construction is already there, where we have no construction in the vicinity of the structure where we are constructing the new structure. So there we'll be using such kind of pile. Generally, displacement piles are used to compact the soil, used for compaction purpose only, to densify the soil. Now, non-displacement pile, I was discussing about that there is no displacement during the installation, and board cast in situ pile or board precast pile are an example of non-displacement pile. I have already explained you about the cast in situ. Cast in situ means where you are constructing pile at the site only. Precast piles are basically the already casted pile, already casted pile in uh, like in factories, and later transported to the site, and then with the help of boring, we are simply removing soil from the ground and creating a hole, and in that hole basically we are filling, means in that hole we are installing precast piles. Similarly, cast in situ means you will be placing reinforcement and then you will be pouring concrete over it in the hole, and then you will be having board cast in situ piles. And in board cast in situ piles, we have one advantage, that in this case we can simply increase the diameter or increase the size and shape of the pile as our convenience, right? But in case of driven precast piles, we don't have such options where we can simply enlarge the section or increase the length of the pile. Now, driven concrete piles are generally of diameter up to 500 mm, but board piles may be even up to 2 to 3 meters. So it is quite obvious that if we have board piles, then in that case we can simply increase the diameter of pile because that is in our hand, right? Now, till this point, we have already discussed everything, right? So today the topic will be pile load capacity and compression. Pile load capacity in compression means under the action of compressive load, means how you will find out the pile load capacity. Simply the bearing capacity expression that we have learnt so far in shallow foundation, that concept we will be using in this case also. Right. So generally we know that for not for pile foundation, basically for the satisfactory performance of any kind of foundation, we have two criteria. First is like it must be safe against shear. Another one is it must be safe against settlement. So the load capacity of pile can be estimated by several methods. So we have various methods for the estimation of pile load capacity. First, we'll have the pile load capacity, means this is static pile load formula, means under the action of static load, we'll be finding out the pile load. Then we have the pile load test. Then we have pile driving formula. Then correlation with the penetration data, right? So we have these four points under which we'll find out the load capacity of pile. So first we'll start with the static pile load capacity, that is the single pile load capacity. From this theory part, we will be able to find out the pile load capacity for an individual or a single pile. Now, when a compressive load P is applied at the top of pile, the pile will tend to move vertically downward relative to soil. Due to the shear or friction developed between soil and surface of shaft, as a result, applied load is distributed as frictional load along certain length of pile. So, class, it is quite obvious. Once you are driving pile inside the ground, there will be friction that will be developed around the surface and the adjoining soil mass. So, due to this friction only, we will be having the load transfer mechanism, right? So whatever load that is coming over the pile with the help of driving action, the pile is going deep inside the ground. So the load that the pile is resisting, that is basically the friction that is induced between the pile surface and soil. So this is the load transfer mechanism, that from the top of pile, the load will be transferred to the soil, and the medium by which the load will be transferred, that is friction. Now, as the load is increased, full frictional resistance is mobilized over complete length of pile, but by that point bearing resistance will be very less. Now, now they are saying like once you are installing pile inside the ground with the help of hammer, so your pile is going deep into the ground, and there is a friction that is coming, or the mobilization of friction will be there at the surface once your pile is going deep into the ground. Once your pile has already been taken the maximum amount of load, in that case you will be having that the maximum friction that is developed around the surface, and only a part of point bearing has been mobilized so far, because once your pile is going inside the ground, at that point you won't have the resistance offered by the ground or a pile by the end bearing, by the friction only. In the start you will be having by the friction only. Once your pile has reached to a certain point, then only you will have the end bearing resistance, right? So that's why they are saying only a part of end bearing resistance is there in the beginning. Now, when full point bearing resistance is mobilized, the frictional stress will drop from its maximum value. Now, it is quite obvious, once your pile is floating or floating in the soil, in that case, you will be having only skin friction, that is outweighing the end bearing, right? And once your pile has reached to a particular point, means on a rocky stratum it has now placed. Now you will be having end bearing only, and your skin friction will reduce from maximum value to some initial value, right? Now the maximum frictional resistance is mobilized. So whatever maximum frictional resistance is mobilized once your pile was going deep into the ground, that is denoted by QF. And when the load exceeds QF, right? So whatever QF, the resistance that is offering, basically that is the load that is coming onto the pile. Now, so once your load is exceeding this skin friction resistance, the point bearing starts mobilizing. This load is known as point load at the base, right? So the point load goes on increasing till failure occurs by punching shear. Now, when I am saying your skin friction resistance is dropping from its maximum value to initial value, that means it is basically punched inside the ground. There is no mobilization of shear friction around the sides of the pile. Only the end bearing is there, right? So at that point, basically we are simply denoting the pile as a bearing failure, means the pile has already punched into the ground. There is no skin friction mobilized at the joining surface. Only the maximum end bearing is there in the pile. Now, load in the bearing at this stage is called ultimate point load, right? So now, once your load has exceeded from Q to QF, right? So from QF, once the load has been exceeded, such point loads are known as unit point loads, right? Now, for the calculation purpose, we are simply computing we are taking the ultimate load. QU is equal to QPU plus QF. QPU means that is the point load. QF is your friction load or a skin friction load, right? Now, although this is not correct, because when maximum point bearing is developed, friction reduces from its maximum value. See, we are saying that the ultimate load is basically the sum of the friction load, means the skin friction resistance, plus the end bearing resistance. But when we are saying that the maximum point bearing has been introduced or been developed, that means we don't have the skin friction resistance. We have only the point bearing resistance. So they have simplified in the next point that if your QPU is much greater than QF, such piles are known as point bearing piles. So why we are calling such piles as point bearing? Because the resistance offered by the pile is due to the end bearing only. That's why we are calling such piles as end bearing piles or a point bearing pile. Now, second case is when your skin friction resistance is much higher than your point bearing resistance. Such piles are known as friction pile, because piles are basically resisting the load with the help of friction only, not with the point bearing. That is on the floating stage only. Now, for the full mobilization of friction, the relative moment required is equal to zero point 0.5 to 1% of the diameter of pipe. So, class, please note from the gate perspective that this point is quite important. They can ask you this question means when the so when will be the full mobilization of friction will be there near the surface of pile. So you must be having these options, the relative moment that is required for this full mobilization of friction, that is zero point 0.5 to 1 times or 0.5 to 1% the diameter of pile, right? Now, for the full point bearing mobilization, this is also important. Relative moment required is 10 to 20% of the diameter of pile. So you must know means when you will be having the full mobilization of end bearing and full mobilization of friction. So for both the case, we have different relative moment required. Now, it has also been observed that when the ultimate skin friction resistance is mobilized, only a fraction of ultimate point bearing get mobilized, and when ultimate point bearing is mobilized, only a fraction of ultimate friction is mobilized. So, in order to sum up the entire theory, whatever we have learned so far, it is said that when your ultimate skin friction is mobilized, that means only a part of point bearing is mobilized, and when your full point bearing is mobilized, that means only a part of skin friction is mobilized. Now, the general equation for the point bearing resistance QPU for a cohesive frictional soil may be written as follows. So, for the cohesive frictional soil, you must be having this point bearing resistance QPU is equal to CNC plus QNQ plus zero point 0.5 gamma B and gamma, right? So these NC, NQ, and gamma are your Tarzagi bearing capacity factors, right? And we have subsequent denotions for the different parameters that we have used in the bearing capacity equation. Now, now in deep foundation, it has observed that the value of zero point 0.5 gamma B and gamma is very less in comparison to the sigma bar NQ. Now you can easily see this term. When I am saying sigma bar NQ, that means sigma bar is your overburden stress or overburden pressure. So it will obviously outweigh this zero point 0.5 gamma B and gamma because this width of the pile is small. We are generally having pipe type of pile or a very small relative diameter pile for the pile foundation. So this B term is small. Gamma term, the unit weight of soil, once you multiply this B with gamma, that is also small. Why we are saying small? It will be having considerable value, but compared to sigma bar NQ, we can ignore this term, zero point 0.5 gamma B and gamma. So the only term that is remaining is CNC plus sigma bar NQ. Now for granular soil, we know cohesion is equal to 0. So this expression can be reduced to QPU is equal to sigma bar NQ. In case of purely clay soil, we don't have the angle of internal friction. Only the cohesion term is there. So QPU is equal to CNC. Now the ultimate point load, if you want to compute, so ultimate point load will be the resistance multiplied by the area at the base of pipe. So that is QPU, small QPU multiplied by AB. Unit point resistance multiplied by the cross sectional area of pipe at the base. Now, in order to find out in the similar way, the way you have computed the ultimate point load, so skin friction resistance can also be computed. That is the skin friction that is there at joining the pile and soil. So that is Fs multiplied by the surface area of the pile. Therefore, the ultimate load capacity Qu can be expressed as the sum of both point load and the ultimate skin friction. So they have what they have done. The ultimate load is equal to QPUAB plus FSAS. So kindly remember this formula for the ultimate load on pile. That is the point bearing resistance multiplied by the area at base plus skin friction resistance multiplied by the area face area of the pile. Now you can easily see the stress zone for the single pile and a group action of piles. Generally, we are not installing pile as an individual pile. We are installing pile in groups. So you can see the stress surface for the group of pile and single pile. In group pile cap and above the pile cap, generally load comes, and from the pile cap, load is transferred from pile cap to pile and from pile to the ground. Now, this is another topic, that is piles in granular soils. When I'm saying granular soils, basically sand and gravel comes in picture, and the ultimate load in case of piles once they are installed in a granular soil can be written QUP AB plus FSAS. That is what we have learned so far. Now we'll discuss the first pile, that is the driven pile. So in driven pile, basically, I was explaining about the effective stress, right? So how we'll compute the effective stress? See, when I'm saying driven pile, so once you install pile into the ground, there is a vibration setup inside the soil. There is compaction inside the soil. That means there is an increase in the effective stress of the soil, but that doesn't mean you will simply install the pile deep into the ground by with the action of vibration and you will be having increase in the bearing capacity. Means the increase in effective stress is limited to certain depth of the installation, and after that you will be having a constant effective stress. That is what it is written, that it has been observed that the value of effective stress increases up to a certain depth of sand, after which the increase in value is insignificant. That is, after certain depth, it is assumed to be constant. Right. So we have the increase in effective stress only up to a certain depth. That is the limiting depth up to which we have the increase in effective stress, and after that we will be having a constant value of effective stress. So hence in case of sand, the value of sigma bar is taken corresponding to depth, right? So when we have sand, so we'll be taking the sigma bar is equal to gamma into depth of the soil. Now, it should be noted that this phenomena is only accounted for sand. So you will be having this for only for the sand case only. Now, it should be noted that the phenomenon, okay, no problem. So how you will compute this critical length of pile? This is what we call as critical length of pile, and this critical length of pile is basically equal to 15 times the diameter of pile if your pile is driven into the loose or medium sand. But if it is dense sand, you have to find out this critical length of pile as the 20 times the diameter of pile. So what you will be doing, you will be having a question like the pile, driven pile is there that is installed into the ground, that is up to a depth of 20 meter, right? So first you have to find out the critical length of pile. So how you will do critical length of pile? It will be given in question that the pile is installed in this dense sand. So you will find out the critical length of pile, that is 20 times the diameter of pile. So 20, suppose diameter of pile is given 0.1, right? So 0.1 means it will be 2 times 2 meter only. So 2 meter only there will be increase in the effective stress, and later on till 18 meter depth you will be having constant effective stress. That is what I want to say here is. Now you can see the diagrammatic representation for the loose sand and dense sand, that there is an increase in effective stress. You can see for the loose sand up to the 15 times of diameter, the pile that is installed into the ground, that is 15 times the diameter of pile, there is an increase in effective stress, and later on there is a constant effective stress. In the similar way you can see it for the dense sand, where the increase in effective stress is up to the 20 times diameter, and then it is constant. So, as per the Indian Standard Code, this ultimate point resistance is given as below for the sand, that is sigma bar NQ plus half gamma B and gamma, right? This is QPU. Since we don't have cohesion in this, that's why CNC plus QNQ, we have removed this CNC from this picture. Only sigma bar NQ, that is QNQ, that is gamma DF NQ plus half gamma B and gamma. Now, however, for the calculation purpose in the design of a foundation, we neglect the value of half gamma B and gamma. So that's why we have only this small QPU as sigma bar NQ only. So sigma bar NQ only, right? And that is small QPU. That is small QPU is equal to sigma bar NQ. Now, in order to find out the capital point load, that is capital QPU, that is small QPU, whatever you have obtained here, multiply it with the area of the base, right? So you will get the point load. Now, factor of safety generally we are considering for the friction case, the skin friction case, capital QF, that is 2.5 we are assuming. Now you can simply see a diagrammatic figure where the pile is installed into the stratum. The stratum comprises of loose sand at the top, clay at medium, mid, and dense sand at the bottom. So you can see how they have computed the critical length of pile. Means once your pile has been installed into the loose sand, They have simply done 15 times the diameter. That is the critical depth up to which you can see there is an increase in the effective stress, and then it has the constant value. In case of clay, we don't have such parameters for finding out the critical length of pile, and it is assumed that in case of clay we have the increase in effective stress till the point you are installing the pile into the clay region. Once you are moving into the dense sand, there also they have find out the critical length of pile, that is 20 times diameter, and later on the constant effective stress till they reach the bottom part. Now, whatever we have learned so far, that is for the point bearing resistance, for finding out the total or the ultimate point resistance for the granular soil. Now, this method will basically tell you about the computation of skin friction for the granular soil. Now, as discussed above, the ultimate frictional resistance is given below. We have already seen this formula, capital QF is equal to Fs into As, right? Now you can see this pile arrangement, that the diameter of pile has been shown in figure as D and length has been shown by L. And these are the successive parameters like surface area of pile, that is pi into D into L. Frictional resistance can be written like mu times N, right? N is your lateral earth pressure at any time. Capital N is your K into sigma bar. That is lateral earth pressure at any point of time. That is that we have already seen that sigma H is equal to K times sigma V, right? So that is what they want to state here is. So instead of sigma H, they have used this capital N. So capital N is equal to K times sigma bar. Now mu is your coefficient of friction between soil and pile material. Delta, delta, delta is basically the frictional angle between soil and pile. So since we have two different medium, so thereby we will be having an interface angle that is defined by this delta, right? Now okay, so since we have, it would have been what we are doing basically for the analysis part, we are generally not assuming pile as a rigid material, that is concrete material. We are assuming it as the same material made up of soil. That's why we are considering this delta as the phi angle only. That is the angle of internal friction of soil. Now the skin friction resistance can be found out using this formula. Fs is equal to K into sigma bar in delta. Now, but we know that sigma bar is also not constant throughout the depth of embedded pile length, right? So sigma bar is also not constant. Why it is not constant? Because up to the critical length, it is keep on increasing once you are installing pile into the ground, because it is compacting the adjoining soil. So for the dense end also, you can see the diagrammatic figure that we have already seen also. Now the ultimate skin friction resistance can be given as QF is equal to small qf into AS. So small qf can be written as small qf is equal to Fs into AS. That is what they have shown here. So small qf is equal to K into sigma average tan delta. So class, please note this formula. In case of granular soils, we'll be computing the total skin friction resistance by denoted by capital QF using this formula, that is K into sigma average into tan delta into AS. According to Indian Standard Code, we are generally using this delta is equal to 5 and K value in between 1 to 3 for driven piles in loose to medium sand, right? So class, I request you all to please mug up these values, that is for the values of K. We have different type of material, because in your question paper might they will provide you this data, because you need to put this data on your own also at times. So you must remember this table, that when your material is concrete, so you will be using this delta is 3 by 4 of 5. If your material is your timber, so you will be using delta is equal to 2 by 3 5, or steel you will be using 20 degree. Similarly, we will be having this value of K, right? And for loose case, that is the loose sand or dense sand, you will be having different values of K. So this chart is very important to learn in order to do the numericals for pile foundation. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Now Now, now you can easily see this delta can also be calculated as delta average over the depth of file, which can be taken as weighted average. So this is not that much significant for you till this point. So so we have learned about the driven cast in situ piles so far. That is driven piles. How we'll be computing the ultimate point resistance. So ultimate point resistance, that is denoted by QPU, capital QPU. We have already seen the formula, and how we'll compute the skin friction resistance denoted by capital QF. That also we have seen. How we'll find out the ultimate resistance, that is summation of QPU plus QF. That also we have seen. Now the another type of file that we have discussed so far, that is bored cast in situ file, where we are simply doing the boring process and then we are casting pile at the site only. Now due to the boring condition, the value of K is very less, hence load carrying capacity is very small compared to the driven piles, right? So in case of board cast in situ pile, the load carrying capacity is less. That's why we need much diameter or much length piles installed into the ground, because we have the K value very less in this case. K is usually taken as zero point 0.5 for calculation, although the range of 0.3 to 0.75 is it can be taken, and delta is equal to 5, right? So what you will be doing in this case, while you are computing the skin friction resistance, for the skin friction resistance, the K value can be considered as zero point 0.5, that is generally taken for the calculation, but a range of zero point 0.3 to 0.75 can also be considered. uh, it is Now rest of the calculation will be done as driven piles. So whatever formulas we have learned so far for the driven piles shall be applicable for the broadcast and C2 piles also, right? Now the point bearing resistance of board cast in C2 pile is equal to half point of bearing resistance of driven pile. So what you will be doing, the methodology will be similar to the driven piles. Point bearing resistance obtained for the driven piles, simply divide whatever you have obtained with 2. So you will get the value for board cast in situ piles. Now factor of safety can be taken is equal to 2.5 in this case. Now the maximum upper limit of frictional stress is equal to 110 kilonewton per meter square. Maximum upper limit of point bearing resistance is equal to 11,000. Class, please note this. Class, please note this as a important point only, that the maximum upper limit of frictional stress. So most of the time student forget this criteria, and what they are doing basically in question, they are obtaining frictional stress unit skin friction resistance as 200 kilonewton per meter square. So they are computing the entire thing using this 200 kilonewton per meter square. But you need to cap this frictional value, that the maximum upper limit of frictional stress can be taken as 110 kilonewton per meter square. Means if it is coming 200 kilonewton per meter square for granular soils, that is sand and gravel, you have to reduce the value from 200 to 110 only. So you have to consider in your question the 110 multiply by the surface area for computing the total frictional resistance. Similarly, the maximum upper limit of point bearing stress, that is 11,000 kilonewton per meter square for silica sand and 5,000 kilonewton per meter square for calcareous sand, right? So in question also, most of the time it comes like a silica sand is there, and pile is driven into the soil. So you have to find out the ultimate point resistance, or the ultimate skin friction resistance, or the ultimate resistance only. So in that case you have to cap the bearing stress, that is small qb value must not be greater than 11,000 kilonewton per meter square for silica sand and 5,000 kilonewton per meter square for the calcareous sand, right? Now, another concept is when your piles are driven in clay. So in this case, piles are in clay generally carry most of the load by virtue of skin friction. So you have also seen in case of clay, basically we have the punching shear failure. So only the skin friction resistance will be mobilized. That's why we have the resistance offered by the pile during driving in case of clays is due to friction only. So the ultimate load is given by small QUP AB plus Fs into As. That is the point load and friction. In case of clay, instead of this QUP AB, you will be using CUB NC into AB right? So this point load QUP will be what? Due to the cohesion at the base multiply by uh, the NC parameter, that is CUB into NC, multiply by AB plus Fs can be denoted by alpha Cu, right? So alpha is your adhesion factor. This adhesion factor is basically accounts for the different material, because pile is made up of concrete and we have the clay of like made up of soil only. So different materials are there, so we have to use the adhesion factor to account for this. So the point resistance, or so the total resistance, that is ultimate bearing resistance, can be defined using this formula, that is CUB, that is CUB into NC multiplied by AB plus alpha Cu into AS, right? Now I request class to please remember the formulas that are given for the granular soils and clay soil. So what we have learned in granular soil, that is QU is equal to QUP, that is small QUP into AB plus small FS into AS. For the small QU, for the small QUP, we have the formula for a small QUP as what formula we have learned, that is small QPU into AB, that is so how we are obtaining the small QPU, that is sigma bar into NQ, and the sigma bar NQ also we can return in a different form. I have already explained you, that is K into no, for the skin friction we have K into sigma average into tan delta plus AS plus small QB into AB. That will give you the ultimate bearing resistance for the granular soils, right? And for the frictional soils, means for the clay soil, we are using this formula for the ultimate bearing resistance, that is CUB base multiplied by NC into AB plus alpha Cu into AS. In this case, we are generally considering NC value is equal to 9, and we are generally using the concept of given by Skempton, right? Now, the undrained strength, softer in consistency of soil, hence greater tendency to adhere to the pile. Class, please note these two values. These are also important values. That is alpha, the adhesion factor that we are calling. That is point. That is one way we are considering for the very loose clays, and point 3 for very stiff clays. Right. So whatever alpha values you are seeing in the expression, you will be simply replacing alpha with 1 if soil is very loose, and for the case of very stiff clays you can use value of zero point 0.3. At least 30 days should be elapsed after driving a pile before it is loaded, so that the pile develop the full frictional resistance, right? So class, I have already pointed out this. Once you are installing pile into the clay soil stratum, there is a there is a molding of the clay, and this clay will not regain its strength at that point only. It is regaining its strength only after certain after only certain point of time. That is what we are calling it as a remolding of clay. That is the regain of strength only after a certain point of time, right? So in order to develop the full frictional resistance of pile into the clay, you need some time only. It is not like it will regain its strength only after a small point of time. It needs some time. That is what it is written. After 30 days only, we can assume that the full frictional resistance has been mobilized in case of clay soil. So the static pile load formula can only use to guide QUP, and in that case FOS 2.5 should be used to calculate QUP for piles in PA. Now the more reliance is based on the pile load test. Now this is a numerical problem, right, for the driven board or the driven pile, sand, clay, dense pile, right? So I request class to kindly go through these numericals, and in case any student faces any doubts in these numericals, so kindly contact me through mail or WhatsApp group, right? Now the your next class will be of Samir sir at 10 a.m., right? So giving you a break of 15 minutes. So you can take the break of 15 minutes for today, and in my next lecture I will be discussing about the group action of piles, ultimate load capacity of pile group, and so on, right? So till this point, anybody is having any doubt? Anybody is having any doubt so far?
sir.
Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, class. Then this is all for today. And if you have any doubt, then please mail me. Thank you, class.